Everyone, and welcome. I am so excited to be with you this afternoon, this evening. My name is Sisha Maharaj, and I'm delighted to be your host. This event is our Employer Insights event, Ask a Recruiter. A little bit about me. I work with Devant as a senior consultant, and my background is in business development and external relations. And I'm so excited to have you join our session this evening. We have an extremely experienced guest that will be sharing his experiences and insights with you to help you in your job search and your success in Canada looking for employment. So before we get started, just wanted to give you a little bit of housekeeping. You are muted because we do have a big group this evening, so there's no need to use your video. However, you will be able to ask questions in the Q&A. I'm going to ask you just to take a look at the bottom of the screen. That is the button that says Q&A. I will be reviewing those questions as they come in. I'd welcome you to ask your questions to our guest, and I will ask them at the end. Also, if you want to introduce yourself as well, I want to take this opportunity to invite you to introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about, your background or your career goals, and also to stay connected with friends across the country. Before we begin, I do also want to mention to you that I want to do a land acknowledgement. I think it's really important that we acknowledge the land in which we are residing. Actually, both my parents are newcomers to Canada, as well as my grandparents. So I am also a visitor in this land. I respect this land and the opportunity to gather here with you today. And I just want to acknowledge that I am joining you from the region of Durham, which exists on the lands that the Mississauga, Sanag, Anishinaabe inhabited for thousands of years prior to European colonization. These lands are the traditional and territory treaty lands of the nations covered under the Williams Treaties, including the Mississauga of Scugog Island First Nation, Alderville First Nation, Hiawatha First Nation, Curve Lake First Nation, and the Chippewa Nations of Georgina Island, Beausoleil, and Rama. I personally honor and recognize Indigenous peoples as the right holders and stewards of the lands and waters on which we have the privilege to live. In our efforts towards reconciliation, we continue to build and strengthen relationships with First Nations here, as well as the large Métis communities and growing Inuit communities here in Durham. I am personally committed to Indigenous values and knowledge, building opportunities for collaboration and recognizing that we are all connected. So I hope that you join me in acknowledging the land in which we are here today. Feel free to share what part of the country or city that you're from, and I want to encourage you to make those connections throughout the event today. For those of you who are new to Devant or your first time joining Devant, Devant helps 48,000 international students and newcomers to get hired in Canada. We offer free actionable advice from career coaches and industry experts at our live events. So these events this evening are all free for you. We also offer the latest AI-driven tools to help you with your resume, your interview skills, and also to understand labor market knowledge. And we also offer introductions to partners and employers to aid your immigration, academic life, and career development. So feel free to go onto our website, www.devant.ca, to take a look at all of the other resources and tools that you have available. For those of you who are joining us from our partner schools, you are also able to get additional tools and supports, including a career course, to help you step by step in being very successful in upgrading your career skills to get a job and be successful here in Canada. So today, it is my great pleasure to introduce Paul Syms, Senior Talent and Acquisition Specialist with Optimus SBR. You may have taken a look at Paul's LinkedIn already. I know some of you are reaching out and asking me a little bit about Paul. He's a seasoned recruiter with over 20 years of professional experience in recruiting, with a primary focus on technology recruiting at all levels. He has worked at 3 of the top 5 banks and 4 consulting companies. He is proactively involved in sourcing, identifying, screening, and recruiting high caliber talent in the functional areas of informational technology, digital, capital markets, banking, wealth management, and engineering in his past. He has managed teams, mentored, trained, and led junior recruiters on various sourcing techniques, as well as developed successful recruiting strategies, including evaluating job scopes, sourcing talent, negotiating accountability, and setting realistic timelines to be effective in achieving these goals. It is my great privilege to have you here today, Paul. I know you had a long day. Thank you so much for joining us to share your expertise. So The floor is yours. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I know the
Yeah,
students are going to have questions for you too. But maybe I could pass the floor to you. Maybe if we can start, Paul, can you tell us a little bit more about, Optimus SBR and your role there?
sure. Um, so good evening, Sasha, thank you so much for this opportunity. I have done, and you and I have done several sessions in the past. Previously we worked together. Um, so yeah, I like doing these sessions. I work at Access. Most of you would know where Access is. I work at I work at several places where I help people find jobs, and that's my sole um, responsibility as being a recruiter. I like knowing that I can see a resume and pick talent from a resume, and one day see that person sitting in an office in a cubicle and delivering, amazing projects and stuff. So that's what I get excited about, finding talent, identifying talent, and transfer that talent to that person and that talent to a job. So I really like doing that. I've been doing this for a very long time. I've only focused all my career in information technology. However, and I'm sure someone is going to ask about transferable skills. I can transfer my information technology skills to any job, and I've staffed not just IT, but I've staffed, pharmacy, and I've staffed healthcare. I've
Oh,
staffed
yeah.
everything.
Oh,
I've done call center. It's one of those revolving door jobs where people just don't stay very long.
mhm.
So yeah, so that's what I've done. I've worked at three of the top five banks and four consulting companies, including Deloitte and Accenture and Capco, and now I'm at Optimus. What do we do at Optimus? We are a management consulting company. We are no different from Accenture or Deloitte. We've been around for over 15 years. Our clients are the top five banks. Our biggest client is TD Bank. Most of our work come from TD Bank. Right now, I'm staffing 40 jobs for Royal Bank on a project for Royal Bank. It's an anti-money laundering project. Some
Mhm.
of you might have read in the news recently that TD Bank got got fined like $3 billion for some AML stuff, anti-money laundering stuff that they got caught up with. So
Mhm.
my job and two of my peers, we are staffing that role. So I'm going to get into that role in a minute. But so what we do at Optimus, we hire you as an employee, and then we send you to the client. And the client is the top five banks, all of the insurance companies like Memorex, TTC. We've got a lot of work in energy in Alberta, but mostly financial services and
Okay.
IT, capital markets, wealth, um, mutual funds, tons of capital markets roles. So
Mhm.
um, just quickly to talk about these 40 roles. So I'm looking for 40 people to do some investigation analysis. Um, you're working investigating money laundering. You're looking at it, you're going to have access to lots of databases, finding information and updating a very large data application file. Lots of investigation, like I mentioned, formatting, analysis, and it's all anti-money laundering stuff that you'll be working on. I need 40 people to start on November the 18th. It's a week, not
Okay.
Monday coming, the following Monday, because Monday is
Okay.
a holiday at the banks. So it was supposed to be on Tuesday, but then we put it off for the 18th.
Okay.
I'm still looking for more people. If and the criteria, Sisha has the criteria, she's going to share that with you, or if you send your resume to her, she will let you know if that's the profile I'm looking for. And
Mhm.
then, I will review the resumes and I will call you up and screen you. If you qualify, we put you through a couple of interviews and then we make you an offer.
Exciting, Paul. Exciting. I think you've got everyone's attention here right now on the call. I see the chat is firing up here. But, thank you so much for sharing that. And that really helps, in terms of the first question that I wanted to ask, which was, what are the skills that you're looking for? So, I'm just curious if someone let's say, has not worked in anti-money laundering before, are there any types of transferable skills or competencies that these individuals might be able to showcase to you on their resume that they are a good candidate for a role like anti-money laundering in one of the financial institutions?
Sure. So, good question. So what I'm looking for is someone with finance, accounting background, someone who's good at math, someone who can, if I ask, one of the questions I ask in the interview is like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your Excel skills? And if they say 2 or 3, it's, that's not the right profile. But if you think that your Excel skills are like 7 and above, that's a good profile. Math,
Yeah.
accounting, finance, because apart from the fact finding and investigation, there
Mm-hmm.
is the commerce and your degree. If you have a degree in finance and math and commerce and anything to do with like engineering and stuff, I mean, this may not be the right profile, but I have jobs in engineering, right? I have jobs and for developers and stuff, right? And capital markets and wealth and all of that, right? So for this role, I'm looking for new grads who've been graduated in the last 2 to 3 years. I'm looking for people who have really good communication skills. The transferable skills will be, you know, you've done a co-op at a bank. You've done, 4 to 8 months or 2 co-op work terms,
Mhm.
and you can, use those skills. Not very many people will show up to me and say, Paul, guess what? I have anti-money laundering experience.
Okay,
They
yes.
don't, right? So it's a niche skill. You've got to work with a bank to have had it. So
Mm-hmm.
unless, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. We'll teach you.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, the 40 people will be in a classroom and we will train you. We will never send you out in the cold, to throw you out in the deep end to swim, right? But we will
Okay.
definitely get you the training that you need.
Okay, thank you so much because I know I try to share this with students and newcomers and those who are recent grads because they do have transferable experiences and projects, work experience through co-op or internships, and just sometimes they're not sure what they've done in the past and how it translates. So thank you so much for sharing that because
Mhm.
I think that's really very, very useful in terms of giving them an idea of how they can position themselves and their background to you. So in
Okay.
terms of, we talked a little bit about the skills. We talked a little bit about, you said a little bit about the interview.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, do you have any advice or tips for students during an interview process? And then on the flip side, what are some of the mistakes that you see candidates making? So if you could share
Mhm.
with us maybe some advice, tips, and then on the flip side, what are some mistakes that you want to sort of help them to avoid?
Sure. So some of the things so you got to understand, I've been doing this for over 20 years. So I see a lot of mistakes and I see really good people, but they don't do so well in an interview. So if they get past me and sometimes I'm pretty lenient and getting in from them getting past me, but then they wouldn't get past the hiring manager. So and then my reputation is at stake. So I don't like to do that a lot. So I'll give you some tips and techniques on
Thank you.
interviewing and resume. I'm going to bundle this into like interviewing techniques on resume writing. Is that okay, Sasha?
Yes, please go
Okay.
ahead.
So for some people that like to apply to every job that they see, don't do that. If you only apply to the job that you have the skills for. Because I'll give you an example. I have a database of resumes, and we have an applicant tracking system that tracks all the resumes. And if you apply to the system, your name shows up. If you apply to another job, your name shows. So if I see you apply to 10 jobs, and I'm looking at that and say, wait a second, you want to apply as a developer and a project manager and a PCO, and like I'm going through this, how can you possibly have the skills for all those jobs? And you probably don't, but you just firing your resume and hoping that someone's going to call you back. It doesn't work. Apply only to the jobs that you have what we call SKA, skills, knowledge, and aptitude. If you have the SKA for the job, then you apply to it. And take this to the bank. Do not have one resume for all your jobs. You can't, because all the jobs will have different requirements. So you have to customize your resume to the jobs that you're applying to. You can probably say, oh my God, I've got 20 resumes, I've got 30 resumes. Nothing is wrong with that. If you apply to 20 jobs, You should have 20 resumes because you should, not all the jobs you're applying to is the same. You can apply to let's pick an administrative assistant. You can apply to an administrative assistant and you can say, well, they're all administrative assistants, but wait a second, they're not. Because there are some admin assistants that would want, different requirements. And if I do a keyword search, maybe so should remind me to talk about keyword search. Because that's a whole topic by itself.
Yeah, that's okay. I
I'll
can,
talk about,
I'll make a note. Yes, please keep
okay,
going.
I'd love to talk about keyword search because that's so
Okay,
important in resumes.
okay.
So let's say I pick, let's say an admin assistant. An admin assistant should have like really good word skills, Excel, social media, like good at spreadsheets, good at doing expense account, good at um, planning, setting up meetings, audio, visual, equipment, having very good knowledge of CRM software, customer relationship management software, and arranging meetings and stuff. Not, although you're an admin assistant, I'm just picking admin assistant, by the way, but this could follow any job that you're applying to. Not because the job title is the same, it means that you can, fire off the same resume. Some job titles will have different requirements, so keep that in mind. So the topic on that is target your resume to the role. When you're sending your resumes out, you have to be available to receive callbacks, right? People are going to call you back. Make sure you have clearly stated your cell phone so they can call you back. I know a lot of people like to have their kids, voicemail on the kids' voice in their voicemail, and it sounds really cute. I have kids and I have grandkids, and it sounds really, but guess what? If you're applying for a job and I'm calling you back, I would like to see something really professional that you're calling back. And this is someone that want to work for. By the way, when I hire you, you're going to be working for a bank. And I want to make sure that you sound professional, you dress professionally, and you're ready to work for a bank. Make your resumes 2 pages. I don't have time to read 4 pages. Everything you need to put in a resume should be in 2 pages. Don't make it 4, don't make it 5, don't make one, make sure one is pretty concise, right? Don't focus too much on your past experience unless it is related to the job that you're applying to. Do not have any errors on your resume. If I see errors, wrong spelling, wrong punctuation, it doesn't show a good sign. Because if I like you and you got all the skills and then your resume is terrible, guess what I got to do? I got to fix your resume before I send it to the client. Because the client is going to, Royal Bank, TD, CIBC, Scotiabank, Bank of Montreal. If the bank is saying, Paul, what are you doing? You're sending me this person and I'm going to hire this person as a subject matter expert. And the grammar is wrong, there's tenses are wrong. You know what? That's on our reputation. I don't want to do that. Make sure you have your name, address, phone number, email, LinkedIn address. Your LinkedIn address is really important on your resume. Your resume should have a certain format. Really take note of this. Your name, address, phone number, email, cell phone, all that stuff in front. The next one should be an objective. What is it I want to get out of my career, my life? What's my objective? Right after that, you create a category that says related skills. That related skill. So if the job, let's pick on admin assistant. If the job says, I'm looking for Excel, Word, social media, spreadsheet, financial planning, I can do expense. That has to go in your related skills. So you're going to have, if there are 5 key requirements of the job, 5 key requirements will be in your related skills. Please understand that because that is utmost importance. Then after objective related skills, then your experience comes after that, where you work, 5, 6 bullets on every job you had, then your education, then volunteer, any volunteer roles or anything that you've had after that. That's the format of your resume. That's the way it should be. If anyone tells you differently, tell them Paul says.
Well, I think I can say that if they didn't know before, now they know.
Now they
So
know.
if you're interested in any roles, especially if you see Paul as the recruiter, as he said, he has over 20 years of experience and he's giving you some tips on your resume. And the framework is very important because you want to make sure that it's easy for Paul to understand your transferable skills. It's clearly easy for him to contact you when he does want to reach you, and that there are no errors. I really love the fact that you said you want to see related skills, Paul. So, I always encourage, candidates and students and recent grads to remember they are in control of how they're marketing themselves to you. So they have an opportunity to show you and showcase their relatable skills, as well as showcasing that they read the job posting and that they understand the job requirements. It's clearly on the job advertisement. So this is really helpful. Anything else, Paul, that you wanted to talk
Um,
about?
sure. Quickly, if I wanted, just a few more things, because I know we need to set time for questions.
Yes.
Um, Sometimes in an interview, someone will say, well, to be honest with you, when I hear that, I start thinking, were they not honest with me the last half an hour that I spent to them, or 10 minutes? Because
Okay.
try not to say that. And try not to say after every question I ask you, don't say, oh, that's a good question. It shows that you're nervous. Like, I don't want to hear it's a good question. I've been doing this a long time. I know it's a good question, right? So, please don't say that. In an interview, if someone should ask you, do you have, Excel? Do you know Excel? I'm just picking Excel, by the way, right?
Mhm.
And you say, no, I don't have Excel, but I got to tell you, I'm a really quick learner. The last job I had to learn, pick a topic, right? I had to learn Word, right? And I spent the entire weekend. I went on YouTube, I found everything I need to know, and I learned it so quickly that when I went back to work, I was really proficient in that. So when you're in an interview and the hiring manager says, by the way, do you have Excel skills? And you say, no, I don't. But guess what? You give them that example. You have to say, you just can't say, no, I don't, and sit back and wait for the next question, right? That doesn't work. You have to come up with an answer to say, I don't, but I'm a quick learner. I can pick up those skills easily. I got to give you an example, if you don't mind. I was at my job and I had to learn the skill. And this is what I did. This is how long it took me to learn the skill. And I was so proficient when I went back to work. Everyone was surprised. You got to be really passionate about your answers. You got to convince them that what you just said was true. You got to convince
Mhm.
that manager that, you know what, I'm the right person for this job. You have a one chance to make a first impression, and this is it. You got to do everything you can. You got to research the hiring manager, research the company. If you come to me for an interview and I say, what do you know about Optimus? And you say, oh my goodness, I have no idea. Why should I hire you? Right? Really, why should I hire you? So you got to be really careful. And something else in an interview that you need to do when the manager says, you give an example of something. Let me pick project management. You can say, I increased productivity by 15%. I reduced cost by, 20%. The project that we were working on was supposed to take 8 months. We finished in 7 months, saving the company money. The project was to go for was going to cost $1 million. We brought it in at 850,000. Managers likes to hear numbers, figures. I
Mhm.
reduced hours on the job by 2 hours a day. Imagine if that department had 10 people. You made a suggestion that reduced the time by 2 hours. You're in for a really nice bonus. So you know what? That's something really important to do. So keep that in mind. Put that in your resume, but make sure that you bring that up in an interview.
Thank you so much, Paul. It just reminds me, some of the content and the training that we have. So through Devant, we have a Get Hired Masterclass, and we talk about researching the company. It's actually part of the process in terms of how to be successful in securing your job. And, I can't tell you how much this is music to my ears when you say, like, do not go into an interview if you have not done some research on the company, on the job. There's so much information available. A lot of the career centers also have really good information to prep students. But I think that sometimes they forget that this is a very important part of getting ready to get that successful job. It is part of your process to get ready and to get making sure that when you meet that interviewer or when you have that conversation with a hiring manager, that you have done your due diligence and that you can showcase that number one, as Paul has said, you're really interested in the job, but you've done your homework. So, talking about that, I'm seeing so many questions coming in. I think at this point, You've shared so much good information. I hope all of you have been taking notes because you're getting the inside intel behind the scenes of what a recruiter is looking for. And as I shared, Paul has experience in almost every single functional area. So I'm really happy to see such diversity of questions coming through right now.
I
So,
want to talk about
yes,
the targeting
the
question,
keywords.
the keyword search. Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's
Can I
do
do
that
that?
first for
Can
sure.
I do
Please go
that?
ahead.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
So if I post a job, let's say I'm just going to pick the admin assistant. If I post a job for an admin assistant, I'll get 500 resumes. For those of you who know project managers or know business analysts, if I post a project manager job, I will get 400 resumes overnight. So I'm just going to pick admin assistant. So if I pick the admin assistant job that I posted, I'm looking for 5 skills, right? I'm looking for Excel, social media, spreadsheet, expense account, financial planning, right? So when I key in those 5 skills, I'm putting in Excel and big capital and expense account and um, financial planning, and I'm bolding those 5 words. If
Okay.
you have all of those 5 words on your resume comes to the top of the list. So I'm screening, I'm looking through 500 resumes. Your resume, I don't have time to read 500 resumes, right? That's why we do keyword searches.
Mm-hmm.
So your resume will now come to the top of the pile. And if I have 5 hits mean that keyword showed up 5 times in your resume, I will read your resume.
Bingo. Everyone wants to know what happens behind the scenes, and you just shared your process. Thank you so much. So, but the thing is, the good thing is, it is a human looking. Like you are actually looking, you do have an opportunity to read the resume, but you're using keyword searches. Am I understanding this correct?
Exactly, yeah. So
Okay.
the chances of me reading your resume and you only had those words twice, nah, probably not. And the thing is, remember when I said in your resume, it says objective related skills?
Yes.
Now, so let me give you another tip that is really important that most people will use and you're going to find you're going to get interviews. So now that keyword, let's pick Excel. Let's pick Excel, right? So
Okay.
Excel will appear in your objective, right?
Yes.
It's going to appear in your related skills.
Related skills.
Then if you had 3 work experiences, Excel should appear in those 3 work experiences. So now Excel will show up 4 times when I do the screening, right?
Yes. Yes. So that's the shortcut. They're highlighting to you that they're very good in Excel. They'll use it multiple
Exactly.
times.
So if the 5 skill shows up 5 times, multiple times, the chances are very good that I will read your resume. The chances are very good that you will get an interview,
Hmm. So
right?
skills are really important for you.
Yeah.
Making sure there's a skills match,
Yeah.
even if they did that in a different context, but they can showcase that they've got those skills, especially for the kind of hiring that you're doing right now. So that's
Yeah.
really positive for them to understand.
Yeah, exactly. And but then again, once you get the interview, then you got to get into, do you have good communication? Do you have good presence? And I know you talk a lot about that in your
Yes.
sessions with them.
Yes, we do. And then also, I mean, and we've worked together many years ago. So I know Paul, is a very good recruiter. And, I know that you validate what people say and they have to have experience and evidence to
Yeah.
back up what's on your resume. So I just want to add that you need to be truthful on your resume because, when you're meeting someone like Paul, who is very experienced, he's going to find out. He's going to figure it out if, the level of your Excel's, if it's right for the role. So just be honest. I just want to also remind people about that as well, because at the end of the day, you are meeting a human who is very experienced. And as he shared, like he's looking for the match evidence before you move forward to meet a hiring manager. So please be honest as well. I just want to underline that as well.
Yeah, that's very important.
So let's go to some of these questions. Like we had a question on the ATS, on the applicant tracking system. And do they need to have, 75% of like the skills or the criteria in the job posting? Are there any other thoughts around that? Like, is there a matching algorithm that happens behind the scenes, or is it you like physically putting in the keyword searches? Like, does it sort them based on the matching at all?
Yeah, it sorts by matching because I can put, if I'm looking for someone with 3 to 5 years, it will sort by 3 to 5 years. If I'm looking for someone with a specific university degree, I can sort that as well. So the skills is one thing, but there's all these other things that I can sort by.
Okay.
So yes, definitely we will look for all of those things. And
Okay.
75%, 4 out of 5 skills, depending on the other stuff, like they've got a commerce degree, they've got related experience, they work for a bank, they work for a consulting company, like all that other stuff that we will look for in that resume. And once all of those match, it doesn't have to be 5 out of 5 skills. The other stuff will complement the skills.
Okay. So
And
you look
then
at
when
the
you,
whole candidate.
yeah, exactly. You know,
Okay.
the thing is, if you've got the aptitude, and we talk about SKA, right? Skills, knowledge, and aptitude. If you have
Mhm.
the aptitude, we can teach you the skill,
Okay.
right? It's as simple as that. But if you come in and you've got really good communication skills, you're very eager, you show up on time, you dress properly, you ask the right questions, you stop when the person is talking, you give yourself, like if I have, that's another thing about interviews. If I have a half an hour interview and I know I have 10 questions or 6 questions, I don't want to spend 10 minutes on one question. So make sure that your answers are precise and to the point, and I can get through my 6 questions in half an hour. Because
Hmm.
at the end, I'm going to say, do you have any questions? I want to leave, 2 to 3 minutes at the end for you to ask questions. So if I run out of time and I have someone else waiting for me for the next interview, it's going to be too bad that I didn't give you enough time. So make sure that you keep your answers short and precise and to the point. You can always say to the recruiter, you know what? Do you want me to elaborate some more? Because I've got some good experience on this. Do you want me to carry on some more? If not, what I offered did that suffice, or should I elaborate some more?
Hmm.
Nothing wrong with that, right?
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
that's very important to understand is that you need to prepare these examples. And, again, we have mock interview technology, you have career coaches, you have a whole team that can help you with your stories to make sure that you are concise. You use a good framework so that Paul can understand your knowledge and your skills very well. So, I have some questions coming in here, Paul, about transferable experience. So, for example, a lot of our students are newcomers to Canada, recent grads. What if they have experience, from a field that's non-tech, but they're interested in a data analyst role? So maybe they've taken their education, in a different field. So if someone has done, a post grad, let's say in data analytics, but they don't have experience in IT, are there other transferable competencies or skills that this person who's coming from IT but wants to move into data analysis could highlight, to showcase that they do have the aptitude and they would be a good candidate, moving from a data analyst role to IT?
Sure. So moving from a data analyst role to a good transition would be something like a business systems analyst or a business analyst. A
Hmm.
good transition will be like if they've done anything like a PCO, a project control officer, because those are transferable skills into that role. Anything to do with if they've done like anything with mapping, data mapping, data cleansing, anything to do with data warehousing, those are all transferable skills into a BSA role, a business systems analyst or a BA role. I
Okay.
currently, right now, we have data analytics roles
Okay.
that if you had your prerequisite, you should have had background in data analytics, background in going into fetching data from different resources and
Hmm.
moving them through. There's a software called SQL or
Yes.
Tableau that they can move it from using
Yes.
those software to populate wherever the database is that the company is looking for. But yeah, someone just put ETL. Yeah, all good. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that they'll need to know, the ETLs,
Oh,
have the ETL skills.
okay.
So that's good. Yeah, it's easy to transfer those skills to something else. And don't
Okay.
ever feel that I had my education or I had these skills in a different country, so it probably wouldn't apply here. The skills are the skills, right? It's the same wherever you go, right? So those skills are transferable. Don't ever think that, oh no, this experience is not here. I don't look at that. I look at if you have the skills, I'll take it.
That's really good because that's what I was going to ask next. I've got, individuals also who are like non-tech wanting to go into a data analyst role. And I think that you're answering it by saying that there are transferable skills that they could identify, which you gave some examples. But even if they did this in their home country, because this is the next question is, I have 18 years of experience in my home country, but I don't have the Canadian experience. So how can I get experience to be considered for an IT job here in Canada?
Um, I mean, sometimes if someone has 18 years experience and they come here, they probably have a family and they have kids and they got bills to pay. So they need a job. So if I tell them to go and volunteer, they'll say, what are you talking about? I need a job, right? So it's kind of hard right away, but take don't if you were a manager or a project manager and you had 20 people reporting to you in a different country with 18 years experience, when you go for an interview, when you apply to the job, just say to the person, I have this experience. I'm willing to work my way up. I'm willing to take an entry level job and I can prove myself. And then, you work from there. They have to work their network. They have most people. I don't think I've ever got a job where I applied on a website. It's always that I knew someone. And
Mm-hmm.
now I know 65, how many people are on this call? 68 people on
Yes.
this call are going to say, wait a second, I don't know anybody in this country. I'm new. Um, but listen, you just found two people that you know. Send me and Sisha, a request. Send me a LinkedIn invitation. I will accept it.
Oh, that's
If you
great.
have a resume, no, I'm going to get 70 resumes. But if you got a resume that you want me to have a look at, give me a couple of days and I'll get back to you on it because like yesterday I had a 12-hour day. Today I have another 13-hour day. But I will get back to it and I'll let you know. By the way, next week I'm away. Sandra and I heading up to the Caribbean. But
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah,
Nice.
so I'll try to get it done in the next couple of days. If not, it'll see if you don't hear from me next week, it's not because I'm ignoring you, but because we're away. But yeah, make sure that you connect with most of you would have communities that you go to, right? Talk to those people and see if you can get someone who you have to work your network. Your network is going to get you that job. Your net may not get you a job, it's going to get you an interview. And the more interviews you go on, the better you'll get at it. Honestly, that
Exactly.
that is so, and you after one interview, you're going to say, man, I should have answered that question differently. I should have done. Guess what? You're going to learn the next time and the next time. So make sure that you work in network, apply for lower level jobs, entry level jobs, volunteer if you can. If you volunteer, you got accepted. Even if you got a full-time job, you can keep your volunteer job and still do full-time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would, tell those people who can't find a job with 18 years experience. I know you got bills to pay. I know you got rent to pay. You got to put food on the table, but yeah, work in network.
Yeah, thank you for that. And also just another suggestion. Well, thank you so much for inviting, individuals on the call to connect with you. That's very generous of you. So I hope that you take that up. And I just want to encourage everyone as well. Like there are, lots of networking opportunities offered at your school through alumni, as well as even on this call. So that's why I'm encouraging you to introduce yourself and stay connected and, don't underestimate the power of, your own network that you're building here while you're in Canada studying or when you've graduated. So, Paul, some individuals are asking as well around certifications or certificates. Some of these individuals are recent grads or are pursuing their education right now. Are there any certificates or certifications that you look for? And, does that help someone, especially if they don't have the direct experience?
So I can tell you directly for the job I have right now. I have a project manager job, and the manager is looking for project management, a PMI, Project Management Institute certification.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm looking for a Scrum Master, they are looking for a Scrum Master certification. So sometimes these things are really important. And if someone is in IT, they can say, you know what, I've got spare time. I can do this in the evening. I can do an online course, and you can get those certifications. For an admin person looking for an admin assistant role, Microsoft the Microsoft Office suite is really important. You need to know that. So that can be learned online, or you can buy, you can get a CD, you can go to the library. There's so much you can do to get those certificate, get that skill, and then you put it on your resume. If you didn't have, I'm just picking on bear with me, I'm just picking on Microsoft or Excel, but that could be any skill. Just learn a skill, add it to your resume. Anything you do, add it to your resume. What else could you do? What did you do? What have you done? You volunteered at your church. What have you? Add that to your resume. The more you put on your resume, whenever I do speak up sessions, I draw, a paper bag, and I put it on the board, and I say, and I have an empty paper bag, and I say, I draw a line at the bottom. I say, okay, so if you have, high school education, college, um, university, and then the level goes up. And then I have
Mm-hmm.
all these skills. And as I get these skills, I add them to the bag, right? So at the end of the session, I'm saying, look at all these skills. All of a sudden, you didn't know you had it. So then I grab the bag at the top and I say, now your bag is so full of skills, right?
Yes.
That you didn't
Yes.
even know you had, right? So that's the way to look at this, that you've got all these skills that you probably didn't know you had. And if you didn't have it, how can you get it? If you notice, let's say you're looking for, pick the admin assistant again. You're looking for an admin assistant and they're all looking for the same 5 skills and you only have 3. Well, what are you going to do to get the other 2,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And look into that. How can I get the other 2 skills? And then you start working. You can do that on the weekends. You can do that in the evenings. You don't have to put your life on hold to get these 2 skills, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And also through the schools, like there's work integrated learning projects, there's part-time work, there's volunteer, there's so many opportunities. So I just want to encourage everyone to reach out to their career centers and, talk to the career coaches. We can definitely assist as well at Devon to complement, some ideas if you're looking specifically for these career paths through our career coaches as well, if those of you who don't have access to free career coaches. I also have a question here. Actually, thank you for answering the project management. Someone actually had a question about that. So you answered that for her in terms of project management. So thank you for that. Someone's asking as well, how do I know what the key words are for a role?
Oh, oh, okay. It's in the job description, right? If you look at a job description, it will say um, they would have a description of the job, and at the bottom they would say required skills, guaranteed. If you pick any resume, you pick up a resume, right? A job posting now, it will have a description of the company. It will have a description of the roles and responsibilities, and at the bottom is going to say required skills. That's what I'm looking for. Do you have the required skills? If you read that job description, it will it will, it will spell it out for you. It will
Mhm.
tell you what skills we're looking for.
Thank
And if
you.
you,
Thank you.
yeah, I don't know how else to explain that, Sisha, because it's something. Maybe I'm thinking, well, wait a second, I do that every day. I post jobs every day.
Yes, so I think in the job posting, usually there's the about the role, and
Yeah,
What Paul is referring to is there's also a list of competencies, knowledge, and skills. Sometimes it says required, sometimes it says asset.
yeah,
I think what the challenge is, Paul, there's sometimes the postings are very long. So
yeah.
they're not sure, out of all the listings that they're seeing, like what is the priority, or how to interpret that, like what's most important. So I think sometimes that might be challenging, but what I'm hearing from you is, the clues are all on the job posting. And the other thing
Yeah.
I would add is if you're doing informational interviews or you're talking to other people in your network, you can also ask, like, what is the most important skill for these types of roles for a project manager? You can also
Yeah.
take a look at people on LinkedIn, or you can talk to your career center to talk about alumni who are working in those roles as well to try
Yeah.
to understand, okay, what is the priority for a project manager? Let's say they
Yeah.
don't have 100% of the skills. Maybe they're not sure like where to cut it off because sometimes the posting is quite long in terms of
Yeah, the posting can be quite long. But
sometimes. Yes,
if you
yes.
read that and let's say a project manager, if I post a project manager, someone's a project manager in your network, just say what are kind of stuff you look for in a PM, right? And they will tell you, but man, the job description, the job posting, we have very good job postings. Because if I don't have a job posting, I'm going to attract the wrong people. I don't want to make sure it's the perfect job description. We don't
Yeah.
post a lot of jobs because our recruiters go out and you see, most of the people that apply to the jobs are not the people I want to hire. So I go after talent because in consulting, they pick you in consulting, you're a subject matter expert. If you can think about it that way, because if the bank wanted to hire a business analyst, they could go out and hire a business analyst. It's cheap, right? But when they come to us, they're looking for the top 5% of the people available to fill this job. So
Okay.
they are looking for a subject matter expert.
Hmm.
So it's important that they have, the person will have to have all this SKS skills, knowledge, and aptitude.
So that's a very good differentiation in terms of the work that you do and the caliber of talent that you're looking for, Paul. That's very helpful to clarify, because you say you go out looking for the talent. So in other words, you're networking and you're sourcing the talent who may not have found that role otherwise, but maybe their name was recommended or they're in a role already, and they're like hidden talent.
Yeah,
So this is exactly what we try to share is like the
yeah,
fact of networking and getting out your name out there and even attending today. Like this is a great opportunity for you. You're getting to hear inside from Paul, and he's got these open opportunities, and he is a recruiter for multiple roles. So this is very helpful.
yeah.
Um,
I have 14,000 connections on LinkedIn.
wow. So that's a big network that they can tap
Exactly.
into.
So
Yes.
if I want to find a candidate, I just put it out to my network and I would get, like 20, 50 hits within an hour.
Yeah. And that's
50
how
hits in a sense responses, sorry.
yes, yes. So make sure you connect with Paul as he uses his LinkedIn. Paul, I have an interesting question here for someone. If they are volunteering, thank you so much, Madhur, for your question. Madhur is volunteering and has a healthcare background in a hospital. How can he go or she go about asking for a recommendation from a volunteer role
So she wants a recommendation from the company that she's working at.
that she's volunteering with? Like, what is,
So,
not sure of how do I ask for a recommendation if I'm volunteering?
okay. So the person that she's reporting to would be a starting point. Someone senior on the team might be a good
Mhm,
starting point. Like my daughter-in-law works at a home down the street from where we live.
mhm.
And maybe she's got 4 floors and she's got maybe 100 PSWs.
Oh,
And they
wow.
come to her a lot and say, can but they would have people that would come and volunteer, right? They're very particular about the volunteers because volunteers have to work, especially in healthcare, they have to work with someone. There are a lot of things you can't do. Although you might have been a nurse in your previous experience, but when it comes to here, they got to make sure that they work with someone else. And if you're doing a good job you're making suggestions, there are two things can happen. They would take you on. And secondly, if you want a recommendation, she would say, Jess, I mean, she's right next door. She would say, yeah, sure. I would definitely give because this person, they know what they're doing. They're attentive. They have all the skills and I have no issues giving them a recommendation. So you can start with the person you directly report to, or that in Jess's case, she has a supervisor that would have reported to her. So that volunteer go to the supervisor. She would take the recommendation from that supervisor to Jess, and then she would say, "Yeah, sure, let's do it. Let's help this person." Because a lot of them started as volunteers or as PSWs in the school, I used to work at a local college down the street here, and we had lots of programs, and then we had volunteers. And during the program, they would go and volunteer. They didn't get paid. It's not the greatest thing to put someone through 8-hour shifts and not pay them. We used to try to give them, subway funds and money for lunches and stuff, but
Mhm.
it's the price you have to pay sometimes, to get where you want to go.
hmm Thank you so much for that. And I think, individuals are just not sure how to ask for the reference and how that works here. And, I think things have changed. There are certain expectations on volunteering and, you can volunteer if it's for your academic credit and things like that. So, if you are in a situation where you're working for work integrated learning or for your academic credit, then, please reach out to your career center as well, because there are different circumstances where you're doing it within your school environment versus if you're volunteering in the community, for example. So these are really good suggestions, Paul. Thank you so much. I have a question that I really want to get to. Someone's asking, what if I have a disability? Are there accommodations that can be made in the interview process if I'm a person with a disability? And I just wanted to mention that I don't have any details about the disability. I'm going to ask Paul to answer, but I would encourage this individual to reach out to me, because we can also share some examples of accommodations that could be requested based on your needs. But Paul, I'm going to ask if you can maybe comment on that.
Sure. So in the last 25 years I worked at the banks and the consulting companies. Every single company that I work for has a ramp to get up to the floor. The elevators are you know for people that are seeing disabled, the elevators have um, the braille. The building I'm in now in downtown, there's no you can't press a button to go to the floor. There's a panel, some of you may have seen it. There's a panel on the ground floor. And if you want to go to floor 9, you press floor 9, and then it directs you to which elevator you should go to. And they go like A, B, C, D, E, F. So so first of all, the floor to get into the building, guaranteed 100%, they all have access. To get up to multiple floors, the elevators have access. To get into, when you get to the office, you want to use a bathroom, every single bathroom, there is wheelchair access. Um, where my wife used to work at Scotiabank, they had a system called JAWS for people that are
Visual with visual disabilities,
visual
yeah.
disability, and they can, they have this system, and so she knows that, that. So there's all kinds, companies are doing all kinds of stuff to help people with disabilities.
hmm Thank you so much, Paul. And this is some of the work that we had done many, many years ago. So I just want to say that, depending on the type of disability, if it's a physical disability, Paul gave some examples. There might be hidden disabilities. So, for example, if you have a visual impairment or you're blind, there are assistive technologies that are available for individuals who are deaf and or hard of hearing. There's also different technologies available, even within, Zoom and through other MS accessibility features. If you have a learning disability, there are also things that can be done to adjust the interview process. So, I just wanted to say that here in Canada, that we are very aware of the accommodation needs, and you need to ask for what you need in the accommodation process. So it's really important that you ask the recruiter if you have an accommodation need. This way you can fully participate in the interview. And I'm happy to talk further about that if anyone wants to. And we can also share more resources. But a lot of the companies that Paul is talking about have been very good at providing accommodation for individuals, whether that be hidden disabilities or physical disabilities. So I see we're running out of time. We're at 7:55. So I just wanted to take this opportunity. Paul, this was such an open, candid conversation. I wish we could go on for another hour or so. But I do want to respect your time. I know you've had a long, long day. I'm just going to invite everyone to please share your appreciation. I see a lot of emojis coming here for you, Paul, lots of stars. Everyone is just really, really happy to be here with you and very grateful for your time. I'm going to launch just a quick poll for everybody that is here. And I'd love to get your feedback. We'll also be sending a feedback. Oh, lots of hearts. Oh my gosh, you're getting showered with love here. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. So I'm just going to see if I can put up the poll here to share your thoughts as well. Just please take a minute to let us know, what you think. If you can rate our session today with Paul. I have to say I've done quite a few of these, Paul, and you've given some new information. You've given us behind the scenes, how you look at ATS, keywords, some do's and don'ts. It's just been incredible. Thank you so much. We're really fortunate to have you here, and you have open roles. So for those of you who might be interested in these positions, you will receive a follow-up email from me. I will be requesting you to fill out a poll and a survey around the criteria that matches the role requirements that Paul is looking for. And you need to be a graduate who's eligible to work in Canada with some of the transferable skills that Paul has shared. And once you fill that out, I will forward your resume and your application to Paul in one email so that it's easy for him to go through and identify top talent who joined us today. So thank you guys so much. I see we've got 51% participated so far in our feedback. I'm just going to give it a little bit more time to for you to respond to some of the feedback questions, because we really value your feedback to make sure that we're offering sessions that are important to you. So very, very high ratings and reviews, all fives and fours, Paul. So again, I really appreciate everyone with your comments and your feedback. In terms of upcoming opportunities, just a reminder, next week we have a session for LinkedIn profile for those of you who are our portal users through our partner schools. We also have November 20th, a live group career coaching for free. On the 27th, I saw that there were some questions on immigration. We will give you an opportunity to ask your immigration questions. On the 27th, we have Elizabeth Long, who is a amazing, highly regarded immigration lawyer. She is going to be speaking specifically about the new IRCC announcements and what they mean for you. So I'm going to reserve those immigration questions for Elizabeth, who can answer those for you. And then on December 4th, we're back again. We have another guest speaker, employer insights, ask a recruiter. We do this every month. And just one of our speakers, a highlight, will be from Ontario Infrastructure. Very, very great topic as well. If you're interested in infrastructure, working with the government, and understanding how you can contribute and work in the real estate and construction sector. So that's a little bit of a highlight. Also, more resources and help. If you are interested in applying for some of these roles, they're coming up very soon. I do want to encourage you to take advantage of one-on-one career coaching. You can do that through your school for free, and you can also do that through Devant. You can book time with our career coaches, but I do want to encourage you to use your free services and your non-for-profit connections first, and we can complement that for you, especially if you're going to be practicing for a real interview that's coming up. We also offer LinkedIn audit profiles, resume and cover letter writing tips as well. And then finally, you can go on to our website to find out how else we can help you. And that would be it. I think we are right on time, almost 8 o'clock. So again, thank you guys so much for your time, for joining. I will stay on a little bit after to try and answer some follow-up questions in the chat. I see there were some questions that I haven't been able to get through as I was moderating yet, but I will stay on for another 15 minutes to try to answer those questions. Paul, again, on behalf of everyone, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your advice and expertise with everyone here today. As you can see, we have a lot of interest, a lot of love coming. It was very, very useful. I hope that we can share with you some candidates for your upcoming positions that you're looking to recruit for.
Sure. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Always a pleasure doing these sessions. For sure, by all means, send me those profiles. And for those of you who want to connect with me, by all means, please send me an invitation. I will accept. Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much. Really
Great.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye,
Have a great
Paul.
day. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.
You too. Bye.
Bye.